Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Cut to the Chase at 8 with Queen MC. That's me, Madison Chase. And I want to do a redo of Saturday because I actually traveled on Saturday to come back to Los Angeles. And it was probably the worst flight I've been on. And I was starting a positive thoughts cleanse. So there was no way. I mean, I tried my best to be positive, but American Airlines made it extremely hard for me to be positive. So I wanted to talk about dating online and how to have a safe and successful dating life on Bumble and the Bumble do's and don'ts. So this is Saturday. Today is actually Sunday, so I'm doing a redo for Saturday. So stay tuned. We'll jump right into it, and we'll talk all about it. It's Cut to the Chase at 8 with Queen MC. That's me. And we're talking being single on Saturdays and the Bumble do's and don'ts. Really amazing shout out to a friend and a collaborator and another creative artist, Onisha, and we spent an incredible Saturday together, just kind of talking and catching up, and she inspired this episode because I was sharing Bumble with her. So we could say thank you to Onisha because she suggested me chatting about Bumble in my experience. So here's one thing I know about Bumble. So Bumble was started by a young lady named Whitney Wolf, and she used to work at Tinder. So do your homework about Whitney Wolf and understand, because a lot of people complained about why do women talk to men first? And I think the answer to that question is in her backstory. So do your research for yourself and understand why Bumble is the way that it is. And it started in 2014. I got on in 2015, and I've been pretty consistent. Just like I'm kind of consistent in a lot of things in my life. So this is no exception. So here are my top 10 things, do's and don'ts, to be positively safe and successful, whatever that looks like for you on Bumble. Okay, so thing number 1. Okay, listen up, ladies. This is mostly for the ladies because I feel like I want to protect you guys, because I have another friend who I encourage to get on Bumble because it opens up the door for you to meet people you ordinarily wouldn't meet, right? But you want to be safe because we live in a world where people could actually be and say and do anything online, because you could essentially create an avatar of anybody. That's why the show Catfish was so popular at one time. So tip number 1. Get a Google Voice number. If you don't have one, get a Google Voice number, and don't give out your personal cell phone number until you actually get to know the person. That's important. I never give my cell number out. I essentially will talk within the app, text within the app first, and when the guy asks for my number, I will give him a Google Voice number for my safety, and because I've had people to send me crazy pics from the beginning, and a phone conversation that turned into pictures of someone's private parts that I didn't necessarily want. And guys, why do you do that? Because women aren't interested in your parts like that. I don't understand it. And especially like you're a stranger. It's not the most attractive part, okay? So number 2, have an opening introduction that speaks to your personality and that will test certain things. So I have an opener. I'm from Texas, and I explained it to Onisha why I have this opening. And essentially, I'll copy and paste it, and just like any copy and pasting, sometimes you mess up, but that's part of the process. But I will change out the name, and then I'll change out the actual day of the week. And that's pretty much it. But one of the things that it tests if someone's response is, when you're having a conversation, you say, "How are you?" And the person should say, "I'm fine." And then, "How are you?" Like, that's just common courtesy. And so part of my intro tests that. Is the person going to say, "I'm well, Madison, and how are you?" And respond. And then to answer the question, because I've had people not answer the question, because I want to see if their experience, like if you're online dating and you're really serious about meeting people, and not meeting people to get married or meeting people to date them, but just meeting people in general, you have to have a sort of thick skin in the sense that you have to be what you want to be in order to get what you want out of this experience. And so for me, I say I'm interested in friends. And essentially, like, before we could become anything else, we're going to have to be friends. So it has to be a genuine friendship. And that genuine friendship should be based on your interest level in talking and or initially talking to me on the phone. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, text within the app first and then wait for them to ask for your number. Because you are a woman and there is really kind of no pursuit in this particular app unless you create that kind of environment. So after I initially contact someone, I wait to see what their response level is. And sometimes responses don't happen, and sometimes you get excited about people that you may not ever meet. And it's just kind of what the game of Bumble is. And I look at it kind of like a game, and I treat it as such. Okay, that's tip number 3. Number 4, have several conversations before you actually meet the person, especially if you don't have a friend in common. And sometimes even having a friend in common doesn't necessarily mean anything, because if the friend in common is not a woman and or she doesn't know him in terms of if they've dated before, because I know sometimes African American women, we have a girl code, and I think the girl code kind of doesn't make sense. If you've never slept with a person, then it shouldn't matter if you go out on dates with them. Like I've introduced my friends, my girlfriends, to guys I've gone out with just because I didn't sleep with them and or I wasn't interested in them that way, and that still doesn't mean that they're not a good guy. So it's my 2 cents. Okay, number 5, never meet at a place you frequent that's your favorite place until you get to know the person, because what happens if the person ends up being crazy and then now you've introduced them to the spot that you go to all the time? So don't ever do that. Okay, number 6, find a random public place like a Starbucks that you don't go to, that's not in your area, and it's not a place that you will go to all the time. And that's for safety reasons, because again, you don't want, it could either be totally great or it could be totally crazy. So I err on the side of caution. And so I tend to be safe in that I don't actually meet the person ever at a place that I go to a lot. Just in case the person ends up being a fan that you're not interested in them being a fan. Okay, so that's tip number 6. Number 7, be friends first, because in order to be anything else, you have to be friends, like genuine friends, and genuinely like the person, and it has to be reciprocal and reciprocated. Because I think oftentimes we women, you could be excited about a person, but that excitement, if that guy is not really excited about you, it's going to show. And so, yeah, that's my tip number 7, be friends. And, the friend zones, I think that doesn't necessarily apply in this case, because they're a total stranger, and you know what? stranger means stranger danger. That's what we teach our kids. Okay, so number 8, take your time and get to know the person. Get to really know them. Like, in the course of dating and getting to know someone, you would want to get to know them. You would want to get to know their friends before you start to intimately get to know someone. And I'm not just talking about intimacy, because I feel like we've lost a lot of what intimacy looks like in an age of our cell phones essentially being our best friends because we spend so much time on our cell phones. Like, I've seen people out on dates and they're on their phones. Like, why are you with the person? And do you not enjoy talking to the person? And you should really enjoy getting to know the person and talking on the phone. And it should show by them calling you, them being interested in talking to you. And if it doesn't start there, then where else are you going to go from there? It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. Okay, so that's tip number 8. Take your time. Number 9, have other spots to meet men besides Bumble, because Bumble is a tool and it shouldn't be your only tool in your toolbox. You should have other places that you like, or things you like to do, whether it's hiking, whether it's bowling, whether it's line dancing, whatever it is, you should have another activity that you could potentially meet people in person, the good old-fashioned way. Okay, number 10, don't give up. I say, I've been on Bumble for a while and I've had some really incredible dates. I've met some really amazing men, and some of them are friends that I still talk to, and some of them, it didn't end up being a romantic friendship or anything romantic, but I've met some really great friends, and we've continued to keep in touch over the years. So that's it. It's Madison Chase. It's Cut to the Chase. This is my redo for single Saturdays and single successful Saturdays, because really all it takes is one amazing person, and you could meet them anywhere. So it could be Bumble or not. So thank you guys for listening. It's Cut to the Chase at 8 with me, Queen MC Madison Chase. We're in the place, and we definitely talked Bumble face to face. So thank you guys for listening, and I'm going to do Cut to the Chase at 8 this evening for Sunday. So thanks, you guys, and we'll chat tomorrow.